And on the stage for the next discussion, recharging education through EdTech. How and when? We'd like to invite here a few beautiful people. Edgaras, Jasalinis! Make some noise for Edgaras, CEO at TAMO. Sveiki, hello. Hi, how are you doing?
All right.
You all right?
All right.
Great, perfect. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have one very special person here online, Mr. Märt. Mr. Märt, I hope you're going to be joining us in a second. We're going to see you online. Also, Lukas Kaminskis. Lukas, sveiki, Lukai. Hello. Lukas is CEO and co-founder of Turing College. And we have our guest online, Märt. Hello, can we hear you? How you feel?
Good morning. All is good here. Happy to be with you.
Amazing. Pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, and one more person here on the stage, Monika Katkutė, founder of Teachers Lead Tech. Monika, please welcome on the stage. Give a big round of applause. Monika! Woo! Sveiki, Monika. Malonu matyti jūsų šypseną. And we have a moderator for those guys. We're going to have beautiful questions from Danielius, Stasiulis. Mr. Danielius. Danielius has his very own personal t-shirt. Danielius is co-founder and CEO of BitDegree. So guys, pleasure to have you here on the stage. Hope you feel well. I'm going to have great talk here online also. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, give a big round of applause to those beautiful people. Come on, make some noise.
Thank you a lot for this insane introduction. Feeling like we are going to a sparring ground on, in box match. Actually, EdTech is a big fight that started last year. It was quite an unknown fight. We used to do this underground, battles, I would say, like in this fight club. Now it's above the ground. Everyone is watching, and everyone wants to see some impact, And we must deliver, I suppose, to transform this education system through technology. So today we'll talk how to recharge education through technology, through EdTechs. And this is a complex topic because we have seen digital transformation happening in all of the sectors of industry, and education was one of the least digitized industries out of all, surpassing only mining. So our education situation in terms of technology is really lagging behind. But at the same time, we can look at it as a great opportunity that we, as Lithuania as well, can be at the forefront of this change. So first of all, I would like to coin one term, like what is EdTech? EdTech is education technologies and innovation. There is no reason not to include innovation in this field, because we need to disrupt education system through both technologies and the way we apply them to educational processes. So today we will talk exactly about that, but maybe first of all I would like to invite our speaker from Estonia, Märt, who is a co-founder and I guess chairman of N8 Nordic EdTech network, to tell us, how EdTech situation looked like before coronavirus and how does it look like now. Märt, floor is yours.
Thanks. Well, as I think you put it already really well, that the fight was going on somewhere in the underground before, and now we are really clearly above the ground and punching hard as we can. The Nordic EdTech Forum is an association of startups primarily in education innovation, and primarily tech startups, of course, then. It brings together 185 people at the moment from across the Baltics and the Nordics. And let's start from what happened when the COVID started. So we actually invited all of the companies to open up their tools for free to support teachers and learners. And most of the companies that were able to do that also did this. We had a really great support from the Lithuanian team as well. And it was converted into a thing called Teach Millions, which is still operational. People that are interested in going and checking out the tools can register on the website and get access to the tools. Primarily, it is meant for teachers and school leaders. But so what happened? Some companies saw six-fold, 10-fold increase of users in a matter of days. So we had a company that was struggling to keep the servers running because they saw an increase of 1,000% of users in one day, for example. So this is a very brief introduction of I mean, anybody who knows a little bit about IT knows what kind of a challenge it is to boost your user base 1,000% during a day only. So you can try to imagine what kind of battles actually were going on in the background to try to support the transition from the classroom-based learning into distance learning.
Märt, how do you think, like before coronavirus, it seemed that nobody is interested in EdTech and there are only a few teams working in it. How did the landscape change now? And do you see a rise of new EdTechs? Do you see a rise in interest in venture capital funding? I have one quote from a venture capitalist that currently, like 40% of all the VC money flow into EdTech. I'm not sure whether that's true. Maybe it was true for him, but it seems that EdTech has this unproportional attention these 2 years.
I mean, you're already answering the question inside of your question. So the reality, it indeed seems to be this way, that there is a much higher interest from the investor side. Before coronavirus, some investors were asking, is this actually a thing at all? Should we consider EdTech as an industry? Then at the moment, it seems that the situation is very clear that the education needs transformation as much as any other industry. And the first ones who would hit the nail correctly will be big players in the future. And we especially see interest in narrow vertical learning technology tools that help to solve concrete learning challenges. For example, I would bring just a few examples just to make it more kind of less theoretical, more understandable maybe. So a solution from Finland called Grapho Game has seen a massive growth in the recent year, growing to about 3 million users globally now. And this is a tool that is built to help people to learn how to read. And they started from the problem that they started to solve was that it's very hard to teach children that have dyslexia to read. And the reason very simply is that the methodology that we are using in school is not very good. It's very hard for the human brain to understand it. So through this kind of narrow vertical tools that are tackling very concrete challenges for learners and also to support teachers, we can see a great rise. And I believe everybody understands now that these kind of tools are able to support and deliver value to the learners and teachers, and that they are actually effectively doing it.
Thank you, Märt. We'll come back to you a bit later. Now let's switch to Edgaras, who is representing probably the leading EdTech in Lithuania for a number of years and probably could be considered a giant in Lithuanian education space. And I wonder how Edgaras is feeling about all those new entrants that are trying to come onto his turf and compete with him. At the same time, I'm wondering how the market has changed for Edgaras, because maybe it has quadrupled or quintupled. So what is the situation? What happened for TAMO Gruppe, and how do you feel about it?
Okay, so first of all, about the competition, you know that there are more entrants. So as you know, previous speakers told, we are not actually competing with each other. I think we should build the ecosystem and help each other to build the EdTech startups which are known worldwide. So I think we are like more teammates than the competitors. And regarding Lithuania, so yeah, I represent a couple of EdTech solutions which are like for, I don't know, 7-8 years in Lithuania. And I just maybe could repeat a little bit what Märt said about the situation, that education sector is very conservative. And before the pandemic, all of the digital and innovative solutions were just, just the supplement or just the tools for the most active ones, but not the phenomena which, are changing the world. But the pandemic, yeah, so if we try to find good points from the pandemic. So I think this is one of them, that we have to move from the very, very standard learning process, which we can say did not change for a couple of hundred of years. When sit at the class, read something from the paper, sit at the board. We have to move overnight to the change. Yeah, it was brute force. It was very complicated for everyone, for the EdTech, including us. As Märt said, our usage increased tenfold, and we were out of reach for a couple of days. For the teachers who tried to replicate all the process, just copy paste from the standard to the online learning. For the government as well. So. But looking from the current perspective, I think we made a change. Yeah, it was not normal. It was brute force, but now we have a very good momentum because there are EdTechs adapted, teachers adapted, government adapted. Now, basically, all the schools and all the children have the access to the internet, have the access to the computer or the tablet. So. Now it's very good momentum to show the world what we are capable of, and by doing that, I think we can change the Lithuanian education system as well quite rapidly, and we can make a change.
Thank you. That's a very positive note. So there's a lot to do, and I guess it's a good time to transition to Monika, who also had like a phenomenal growth during the last year, but actually teaching the teachers. So, like, Monika, what happened? What did you achieve?
So, we can talk in numbers, but I guess my favorite type is talking in stories, because I work with primary school teachers, 99% of whom in Lithuania are women. Their average age is 50 years. So they're not digital natives. They're not. Most of them have no idea what Vinted is or haven't heard the term EdTech before. But at the same time, they're serving around 50% of kids in the school system. And I call them the most influential group worldwide, because 32 million primary school teachers are serving nearly 700 million kids daily. And they're serving them in their crucial learning age. They're building their crucial learning skills, life skills, emotional skills. So in my opinion, they're the most influential group of women in the world, and one of the most underserved groups as well, because they're just, nice women who do what they're told to. And suddenly we come in and say, let's build VR in the classroom. Let's learn how to code. And they're like, whoa, what's happening? And of course, they were hesitant to begin with, but actually we had our first school year closing yesterday. And we had a teacher who is retiring. It was her final year at school, saying to us, I wish I was younger, because with these opportunities coming, I wish I was younger and could serve my kids longer. And I think that tells a lot about the transformation we've seen, because suddenly teachers are not only kind of hesitant to technology solutions, but they suddenly see that technology is a tool that they've been waiting for a long time to serve and meet every kid in the classroom, be it in a regional small school, because we had stories of kids with learning disabilities shining in the classroom, kids from socially difficult environments starting to feel that they can actually succeed in learning, that they can actually build despite their socioeconomic background, be it in a small village in Lithuania. And when listening to guys from Building Unicorn Association early, to me it's inspiring to know that a group of women in Lithuania are actually building the next generation of technology builders. That's inspiring me. And I guess we don't have an opportunity, but I would agree with Tadas, we have a responsibility to make it happen now, because we might not have this window of opportunity in the next 5 years. And it's not competing with Estonia or competing with Nordic countries or competing amongst ourselves. It's about taking the momentum and actually creating a country that is serving globally with their ideas and with their talent rather than with their cheap workforce. And I really feel that we can make it happen with help of best learning tech solutions built here.
Thank you. That was so eloquent and beautiful. Maybe you could add a few numbers because they're equally impressive.
So we launched September 2020, which was 9 months ago, and we now grew to 20% market share of primary school teachers in Lithuania. And in the next school year, we're starting with 50% of market share with teachers in Lithuania. And I guess the market share is not as impressive until you convert it into impact. And when you convert it into impact, it means that in 1 year, we managed to serve 22,000 kids. And in the coming year, when we reach 50% of teachers, when we start guiding them and helping them acquire those technology building skills, we will be reaching 70,000 kids and dropping the cost of basic technology education to €5 per year. And that's, I guess, the most attractive solution you can get with the help of technology, because it's not about building the most innovative technology. It's building the most scalable and user-friendly solution and make it affordable. Because I guess in education, it's the very long path to updating education, because the system is so complex and you have to build at least many thought that you have to build very expensive solutions, build big projects, and spend a lot of EU funding to actually make something happen. And here we are in 1 year and actually making a dent. And our main focus is that kids who finish primary school education in Lithuania have technology building skills as part of their basic skill set next to reading and writing. And if you can do that for €20 per child, I think that's a hell of an offer.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that is a good time also to switch to Lukas. And he's, EdTech and education is not only about schools, although we are used to talking about schools only. So Lukas is working with lifelong learning more and updating people with 21st century skills, I suppose, such as data science. And Lukas was recently admitted to Y Combinator, which is the most prestigious startup accelerator in the world. And they're getting a lot of, world-class knowledge from there. And as Lithuanians and Lithuanian startup ecosystem, we are usually feeling, somewhere remote, somewhere outdated, maybe also insecure. And now, Luka, you have a chance to tell us whether we were wrong all that time, and whether Silicon Valley can really change your perspective somehow and make your startup better in a matter of months. So like, what's your journey? Actually, what is your startup doing? How is it going? And what did you get from Y Combinator that you could share with everyone here?
Yeah, sure. So regarding Y Combinator, that is really interesting experience, first of all. Just to have in mind, like Y Combinator is a 3-month program. We didn't go to Silicon Valley. That was totally remote. And I guess that was as well the benefit because we can stay here in Lithuania and work with our team. And as well, in the evenings, we had sessions with our group partners who are as well startuppers who had exits, giving the example Triple Byte, giving the example Mystery Education, those kind of as well K-12 startup. So those people went through the journeys of creating EdTechs in a really large scale US market in comparison to the European market would be not kind of one country as here in Europe, but it's a huge market. So basically that was really beneficial in a sense as well, focusing on product market fit, because a lot of startups, when they start growing, they seeing the traction and growth monthly or like even weekly, they start thinking that we already have product market fit. Users are coming, they are happy, but what really product market fit means in education is sometimes totally different what it means in a SaaS company. So that was really good example for us as well, because education covers multi-layer problems. It's not just basically getting the revenue from the parent in a K-12 startup, but basically as well having a long-term impact, helping students to gain the long-term knowledge, and in that you can see the value. So basically that was the focus of ours as well in those 3 months. It helped us to grow really fast. We launched in December 2020. Basically, with our first cohort, now we have 63 active students from all around Europe, Nigeria, Netherlands, Lithuania, Poland. So basically, as well, not working only here in Lithuania. And we're seeing the big impact as well for people. They're landing the first jobs in the biggest regional companies, but as well we see that there are a lot of potential for them to place jobs in the Silicon Valley companies, Amazon, FANG type of companies, Netflix, etc. Because as we're speaking about hiring is really biased process. So if you know someone and you can get the reference, it increases chances to get into interview. Because people from our region are basically really ignored because they don't have Ivy League degrees, specifically speaking about tech companies and getting just basically into interview. So we are like with that network and creating the concept of Turing College Data Science School, which is co-created with hiring partners. We are trying to solve that and give the opportunity for really talented people, because talent distribution worldwide is equal. It doesn't mean that in Silicon Valley, there are like 3 million people living in a Bay Area. It means like there's everyone is talented here because it's like the mecca of tech. But basically, there are a lot of talented people here as well. We just need to build bridges for them. So that's the perspectives, and I really recommend as well for people that are looking for advisorship to think about such programs, because as Wacy says, there are some accelerators that do more bad than good. And when you work with the best, you are getting the real good advices that helps to shape your business. So that was in our case as well.
So what's next for you?
So basically now we are really focused to help our students land first jobs. So basically that's the focus of ours. And then scale to other markets. So other EU countries, Poland, Denmark, and helping people there to upskill and get the knowledge in data science and AI.
I would like to make a very strong point here. Although you're a Lithuanian EdTech, you're not serving Lithuanians per se, you're serving a global market. And in Lithuanian education space, we are used to thinking about our internal market, that the profiteers from businesses will take the money from the education system, etc. There are a lot of stereotypes. And here you're actually bringing revenue home to Lithuania, you're increasing our GDP. So how do you think about EdTech as an export potential for a country like Lithuania?
I guess the same could be said about you, Danielius, with your scale. But speaking about our attitude here, we had like local business. Prior to Turing College, we had like high school extracurriculum activities with kids. We were focused just working in Lithuania. But basically, we understood that if you want to build global EdTech startup, you need to focus. So we kind of scale down everything what we we are doing in parallel because we had several business running and just focus on Turing College. And with that focus, you can start creating global projects. So as well, I guess the lesson of ours is here that you can scale and do amazing things if you have good founders and a really huge focus and depth knowledge about your clients, specifically speaking about education, because we are building Turing College as well as the clients. Because as well, I'm experienced graduating here in Lithuania, software engineering, and the quality of studies was really, really low. Like I can compare with Harvard, where I did the semester. I can compare as well with other boot camps. And unfortunately, sometimes you're just meeting lecturers that are drunk. And that's not the best case if you want to be the top tier engineer. So I guess we need to rethink that. So having that deep understanding in EdTech, I guess, is really important because, as I mentioned, it's really complex. It's like you're trying to create business and trying to solve social problem, which sometimes should be like two different things. So when you're combining that, you need to have really strong muscles and resilience to find the solutions here.
Okay, let's shift now a discussion a bit on what we can achieve in EdTech in Lithuania and beyond, I guess. So last year we have launched an initiative called EdTech Lithuania, which unites Lithuanian EdTechs. We believe that there are between 30 and 50 EdTechs in Lithuania. We have raised close to 50 million in funding, and I guess likely they are doing similar amount of money in revenue collectively. And what we want to achieve with EdTech Lithuania is, first of all, gather them all together and become stronger together and change this environment that we are operating in Lithuania for the favor of EdTechs so that we could thrive, we could see more of them. Secondly, we want to apply whatever solutions those EdTechs are creating to solving the Lithuanian education problems. And we have quite significant problems in Lithuanian education system. And if we solve them, that's a use case on its own to be exported to other countries. Lastly, we want to help those EdTechs grow internationally so that EdTech becomes an significant export sector. Now, the question is, how can we achieve that? And I guess there's no one better than Märt to actually look at what other countries are doing and what is happening. Is there a race between countries who will become the next EdTech country? And what should Lithuania do in order to participate in that race?
Well, I'm actually super happy to hear about all the colleagues on the stage at the moment. I'm honestly, it's so good to hear about all these developments that have happened now in Lithuania, and we can say maybe thanks to COVID as well. I would say that the countries are kind of honestly said. The countries are not really yet competing on who is going to be the next EdTech country. There are some people inside of various organizations in the ministries of education in various countries who would like to see their country to achieve this. And I spoke at the EdTech Lithuania opening event, and we had a really great talk from the president's office side from Lithuania, and I even reviewed it the second time. That's actually not happening too often, that I'm listening second time to a public speech. So the basics in Lithuania are very good, or the basic ideas of what should happen. And now the question is, how can the country pull itself together and actually formulate a strong task force that probably has people from the private sector, from the public sector, and maybe some of the major stakeholder groups as well, like teachers unions or school leaders unions, to come behind a common and joint plan and strategy, let's say. But yeah, Estonia, of course, is pushing as hard as possible. Finland has made a national strategy to export education, and their goal is to get to €1 billion by 2030. education expert. And if you look at billion euros, then on the global scale, it's actually not very much. There is a research organization called Holon IQ that is looking at education technology more specifically, and they are analyzing that thanks to COVID now, we are anticipating a constant global 20% annual growth until 2025. And then the global EdTech market will be about $400 million. So 400 billion, sorry. And if you look at the global education expenditure in general, well, you wanted to have some numbers, so I'm throwing a few numbers here. So it's estimated that about 6% of the global GDP goes into learning and education sector. And this translates into about 7 trillion. It's so large numbers that you're not used to say these numbers. $7 trillion annually, which is a massive expenditure, of course. But because of the reluctance to adapt new ways of doing things, and maybe we should also say why we should innovate education at all, because I think it's not naturally clear. My feeling is that the most important point of view is that we are actually moving away from industrial era into what we can call information era. And the expectation towards the learners that are coming out of the school are totally different in these two different eras. And maybe just to give a few examples as well, if Danielius was mentioning before that we are having a system that is maybe a few hundred years old, and it hints indeed back to 1850s that this kind of what we call industrial school system was set up and popularized, and it has served us super well as like a global society of human beings, because the school system as it is helps people to raise massively in wealth. So the people that don't have basic math or reading skills, for example, if they produce something and go to the marketplace and try to sell it, it's very easy to cheat them because they cannot calculate. So, and this is the very, very basic level of education value. But now, if you look at the modern companies, what kind of people they are expecting to join their teams, then we would like to hear in this job interview, I will tell you the ideal story. I would like to hear at the job interview that, hey, I know your company, I really like what you're doing. That's why I'm here. I'm passionate about what you're doing. It's meaningful for me. And I see this and this and this opportunity to make your company even better. And if you give me this and these resources, I would be more than happy to join your team and help to fix these challenges that you have here. And this would be an ideal story from a person who would come to a job interview. But if you look at the current way of educating children, there is almost no tools that we are giving them during the whole education that would help them to get to this level. World Bank has analyzed this in actually quite good details. I've looked through their final report on 21st century skills, and very briefly, they're putting that project-based learning or problem-based learning. Project-based learning is the most common term. Is the best way to teach children about 21st century skills, because they naturally learn about leadership, the value of teamwork, how to set up like a storyline, how to solve a problem, and to have this understanding that I have a possibility as a person to have a say regarding how the life gets better around me. So you see there is a quite clear difference in like just putting the stuff on the plate for the child to consume, and then the other opportunities to let the child like think through how we can actually solve problems. I will not continue more on this kind of rambling, because I'm very passionate for education development, and it's very easy for me to kind of drift away into talking too much. Maybe you want to take over.
Thank you, Märt. That was really passionate from your side. I guess now we have to do the Lithuanian pragmatic, and practical continuation of your thoughts. So, Edgarai, what do you think we can achieve with EdTech Lithuania, or in general, with EdTechs in Lithuania or beyond in the next couple of years? What should we do, and what are your plans?
Overall, I think what we should talk is, the situation and the momentum. So from my perspective, and we are just still trying to get out of the pandemic. And I think, in the terms of EdTech leadership in the global market, all the countries, stand at the very, very similar start line. So I think what we are doing here, that at least we are talking about EdTech, it's a huge push, from the year before when, nobody talked about EdTech and education innovation at all. So now we have even the, the strategic action in the government program this year regarding the EdTech development. So, just not to keep too long, I think for Lithuania and for, for Estonia or for any other country, I think the situation is very similar. And if you want to make a change and, to become, the leaders in the EdTech global arena, I think we have to work together. And together, I mean, not just, by the businesses, or the EdTech or the startups, but also the investors, the startups, the government especially, because, education and not just the K-12 education or the school education, but the education, from the very start of your life beginning till the very end. It's still very, very, how to say, dependent from the regulators. So I think if you want to make a change, all of those stakeholders should work together and make a tech revolution as a strategic action. And I think we can, we can replicate fintech and move even further.
So it sounds to me that what you're saying, we have a momentum, we have a lack of competition and a very much growing market. So probably the next unicorn should come from EdTech from Lithuania.
Let's hope so.
Yes. Okay, Lukai, will you be the next unicorn? What are your plans? What would you suggest? What you would suggest for Lithuania to do in terms of EdTech, facilitating the ecosystem, and also transforming the education system? And how do you relate to that? What's your plan?
So answering the first question, yes, the question is when. So we will see. Because generally it takes time to build a unicorn in EdTech. So it's like, we need to find proper product market fit and scale it up. Seen from the examples as well from the Y Combinator. But generally speaking, what Lithuania can do is, I guess, speaking about short term, not speaking about long term, the strategical things which are in composition with government support, sharing the knowledge, and I'm really happy that this is happening, and we can do it even more. Bringing the examples how people, not even from Lithuania, but as well in the States or like Europe, are building such startups, and what is their mental model of making those kind of solutions to the specific education problems. Because as I mentioned, the thing is, if you want to create a real solution, you need to understand the problem really in the 5 layers in the depth when we are thinking about education. And it's really good example how you can train your mind and thinking about creating and solving the problems of education, and as well finding the monetization. Because as well, when we are speaking about scaling the education business, in Europe it's kind of hard because all the different countries have different educational systems. In States it's more easier. That's why as well we see more EdTech unicorns happening there. It's easier to scale those kind of business. So when we are thinking about unicorns in the Europe and going down to Lithuania, as well we need to ask, is it even possible sometimes in specific area of education to build unicorn? Because it's really hard to scale them. So the fundamental, like first principle question should be answered. And I'm here sometimes pessimistic, saying that it's really hard to build unicorns in EdTech. But the question is, do we really need unicorns in EdTech? Maybe we need just really impactful business that are serving and the local problems and helping our talents to grow here. So I guess this is kind of always the questions and answers and as well our priorities that we should be really clear about.
I think that's a very thoughtful comment. And yesterday I discussed with one gentleman about passion economy. And in passion economy, what you're optimizing for is not revenue, but actually your personal satisfaction or whatever other metric that you have. So not everyone needs to build a unicorn. Maybe we need to have another metric, maybe some kind of impact metric. And I guess, Monika, your thoughts on that would be excellent.
Absolutely. I'm just too lazy to build a unicorn. I just want to live a normal life. Read books on weekends and not to hustle on my computer, checking emails, and just dying not to do a mistake, and build up on user click-through rates, etc. I'm not built for that, but at the same time, I just want to say that there's other ways to build unicorns, and I totally agree with Lukas. And my idea is to build an impact unicorn. I'm just very curious to know what happens when 1 million primary school teachers believe that they can build with technology and bring those skills to kids to classrooms. Just my curiosity, it's just like a game. You make it like a game and you think, okay, if I'll do this, then what happens? If I'll do this, then what happens? And I guess I'm lucky enough, or we're lucky enough to live in a momentum where we have solid technology companies around us to prove that it's possible and to show that, okay, that way is possible, but you might find another way. So I guess we're lucky to be standing on the shoulders of giants, as you say, because I'm lucky to talk like that now because I have all those examples around me. But at the same time, from Lithuanian perspective, whenever I have a very, very difficult day, I just remind myself of a very simple question. What happens if we miss out on the next Bill Gates, be it he or she, now growing in Lithuanian education system, just because we do it in the old ways? And this question to me is revealing so much, because I'm always thinking about that one child that we will be impacting the world so much that we need to reinvent the entire system for him to grow. And when I started in education nearly 6 years ago, I gave myself 10 years, and I said, to make something impactful, you need to give at least 10 years. And I said that when my kids start school, I already want to see my impact happening in formal education. So the first 5 years done, so I have another 4.5 to reach those 1 million teachers. And of course, we also coming not only into passion economy, but also into a creator economy. And that's the beauty of technology, that everyone can become a product maker, inventor, and they don't need to have massive money behind them. And that liberalization needs to come to education system. And I'm looking especially at universities, because I have no idea how they will survive. Honestly, I have no idea, because with kids, what they learn today at school, with what content we provide, with what Lukas is giving to people, guys, you need to catch up. You need to move faster, because I'm questioning school as a concept itself. And universities, I just have no idea. It's a very, 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 very thin ice underneath you. So you better start partnering with Danielius and Lukas faster, because you might run out of kids coming to you.
So in order not to make this like, EdTech shooting threats at formal education system, let's call it, let's collaborate, actually.
Let's call it an invitation.
Let's call it an invitation, because from where we are standing, it seems that there's a tidal wave coming, and you're seeing this with kids. Some of us are working on it already, and, but still, I guess the biggest challenge for edTech is go to market, and those guys in traditional education system, they have a market. So let's work together. Let's make this technology happen. I think that could be a better headline. And Märt wants to say something. I see.
yes, I don't know how much time you still want to give me, but
Actually, I don't know either.
I will take it anyways. Sorry. I actually see a really good collaboration starting between universities and innovators already across the globe. And the example that I gave regarding the Grapho game, it was actually invented inside of a top teacher training university, Jyväskylä University in Finland. And the collaboration with the startup helped to, well, the startup made it into a product that could be used by children internationally. So there, and from the university side, actually, the universities have a massive wealth of knowledge regarding, I mean, especially important from my perspective are psychology, neurosciences, and of course, pedagogy as well. During the last 100 years, we have had massive breakthroughs in psychology. We know how motivation is built, for example. We know how motivation is dissolved in a human being. During the last 40 years, we've had massive breakthroughs in neurosciences. So we know how knowledge is built inside of the brain and how the neural connections are actually built. We can see what kind of stimulus actually works in a positive sense that brings a learning outcome and helps to remember what we just kind of pondered upon. And we also know how to not teach children or can see from this. So actually, there's a massive wealth of knowledge in the ivory towers of the universities, but this is not really reaching yet out very well to general education or learning in general at all. And this is where I see the value of startups actually very clearly, that the startups are interested in, in impact and creating real things that actually help the learners and teachers or educators as a wider scope. So the university's knowledge can be used by startups and then transferred into something practical that can be used by learners and teachers. So this is one great opportunity. But I, in general, agree with the notion that universities will need to very seriously look at their business models, because I will bring an example here as well. For example, Harvard University CS50 program, which is computer science basics, has been playing with distance learning for about 30 years now. And so they have been like trying out ways how to teach kids or, well, grown-ups as well, in a distance learning way, in the most effective way, like looking at various examples that they can bring to make things clear also over distance. And now on their website, it's explicitly said that you will get a better experience learning this program from a distance than coming over to the classroom. And there's a team of 5 people that are behind delivering the program. And this spring, they had 2.6 million people registered for the course. And this is the like world top class education. And now if I'm translating this to general higher education, then my question is, like, we cannot deliver, if we have like group of 40 students, we cannot develop such high quality content that would be interesting for kids internationally. But maybe if the universities, if 200 universities, for example, across the globe would collaborate and like each of them would take the most interesting kind of subject area. For example, Tartu University would take gene technology. Vilnius University would take education startups, for example. And each of these universities would build the best possible course that they can. So the goal would be to have the world's best course done for this subject area and hire the best experts from across the globe to deliver this course. Then this could be one way to see the future of higher education. But the way that it's done today, indeed, it's hard to see how it kind of makes how it has any chance of competing with the most leading kind of universities that already are doing this.
Thank you, Märt. I guess we don't have much more time, but I would like to ask for one last parting thought from each of you, starting with Edgaras.
Very short but very hard question, you know. I think we have to, I just maybe will add to Monika that, and Lukas as well, that maybe education does not need unicorns, but EdTechs and all our community and all the startups are bringing and building the fundament, for others, for children, to build those unicorns, and it doesn't matter if it's, in the education or not, or they're living the happy life and productive life. So let's do and let's focus on that, I guess.
Okay.
Mine would be not to be so optimistic about public education and act on the private education, because that's what we can change. And if we are thinking that, we have examples that public education doesn't change really fast. So why we are always expecting that tomorrow will be better? Of course will be, but not so in a high terms that we are thinking. So I guess the change we can make, the competition we can push the public to be better is through the private, and that's what we can be focused on.
And to make some intrigue, I'll oppose to Lukas completely, because I'll say that, yes, we can compete maybe in a private sector, and that's the way usually edtechs grow. But at least from my viewpoint, I'm still thinking about that child who lives in a small village town, and he has a constitutional right to have a good quality education. And it's going back to responsibility to make learning work to the child who is in school today, and not to the one who actually has financial and parental benefits to have a better education, because that's the beauty of technology. It's liberal, it's cheaper, it's scalable, and when we can actually make it happen faster. Of course, it's not easy if you think in startup terms and growing, and I guess our target markets are different, but I'm on it. Let's play.
So from my side, I would like to invite everyone who is listening to join us at EdTech Lithuania as simply followers or leaders and create the new EdTechs. Would it be for passion, or would it be for creating the next unicorn? I believe the momentum is right. We have a support from the Prime Minister, from the Minister of Education, from the Minister of Economy. So there is no better time right now than right now to create an EdTech. So let's do it together. Let's make this positive impact on every child, so that we can grow not only EdTech unicorns, but all the unicorns possible. So thank you, and let's do this.